Like most of us, because of the coronavirus outbreak, I'm stuck at home. As a 15-year-old, I wasn't quite expecting this to be my life as a teenager. Curious about what the world looks like amid the pandemic, I'm talking with people who are on the front lines, helping our society get through this difficult time. Sharing their stories gives me hope, while I'm 15 and quarantined.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of 15 in Quarantine. Today, we are joined by Deputy Chief Terrell Griffin with the Atlanta Police Department. Deputy Chief, could you please introduce yourself for our audience, please?
Yes, my name is Deputy Chief Griffin with the City of Atlanta Police Department. I am the commander over the Contingency Operations Division. Been with the police department for 32 years, and I've been over the Contingency Operations Division for a little over a year.
So you talked a little bit about how long you've been in this role, but could you please talk a little bit about your background in law enforcement and your current duties, please?
Well, you can imagine after 32 years, I've pretty much done everything, but I've worked as a zone commander. I worked my way up through the ranks. I hit every rank there was, patrol officer, investigator, sergeant, lieutenant, captain, major, and now deputy chief. And I've done the Office of Professional Standards, which is to a lot of departments, it's considered internal affairs. I've worked plainclothes, I've worked target enforcement, and just a little bit of everything. And
Well,
currently,
you can continue.
yes, so currently my responsibilities are with the Homeland Security Unit, and we deal with large-scale events such as concerts, parades, road races. If it's a funeral, large-scale funerals, protests. Also, we have video integration. We man the Joint Operations Center, and I also have a unit that supervises unmanned aircraft systems.
Oh, that's really interesting. So, how is the Atlanta PD adopted to any new protocols or procedures to protect the police force from COVID-19?
Well, when the pandemic started, initially around, I guess, early March, it was a big challenge for us, just like everyone else in the country. Law enforcement and medical fields. We were in a big rush to secure the N95 mask, hand sanitizers, Clorox wipes, disinfectant spray. We need thermometers, so the handheld thermometers, so that we could do testing for the employees to enter our building safely, and wristbands. So immediately it was a big push just to get the supplies to make us ready to deal with the pandemic.
Yeah, those hand sanitizers and those masks are really important to keep people safe. So, has the pandemic affected the operations of the police department and law enforcement in Atlanta?
Yes, it has. Some of the calls that we would normally go out on because of the pandemic, some of those were calls will be handled in what we call teleserve, which means that you call the police, and certain situations, they take those reports over the telephone, and these are non-emergency type calls. Just to give you an example, some would be where it's for shoplifting, and it's a minor amount, and there's no perpetrator on the scene. That could be handled over the phone. Simple thefts, if someone steals something off your porch, a package or a flower plant, uh, criminal trespass where there's no perpetrator available, and criminal damage to properties that don't include domestic violence or the use of a weapon, or it's not a hate crime, and harassing phone calls, fraud and identity theft cases. Those are just a few. And in some instances where you have minor vehicle accidents, that there's no injury involved. Some of those are taken over the phone.
Has there been any need to rely more on technology or remote surveillances?
Yeah, in some cases there has been. Keep in mind, especially with protests in particular. So you have a large gathering or a large crowd of people. So in terms of sending our officers in those areas where they could possibly be infected or get sick, by the virus. In certain situations, we rely on, I mentioned our video integration center, and those are cameras that are set out all over the city, major intersections. So if we can watch from a camera, that would be best case scenario. And so we use those type cameras in certain instances. In others, we use a lot of times the news media. They cover these protests live. So if we could use their live feed on television and watch, that's an asset for us. And then we use our helicopter units that they have a downlink, and as I mentioned before, the unmanned aircraft systems. We use those as well.
So I imagine your personal approach to your job has changed because of this pandemic. Can you tell us a little bit about how it's changed, please? Hello, Deputy Chief.
Protective equipment, PPE gear. We've got to make sure that they have masks and that they're knowledgeable. They know how the virus spread and how it works in order to protect themselves.
I'm sorry, we kind of got cut off because of the internet. If you could please just answer that question once again, because I think there was a buffer in the internet. So if you could kindly just repeat what you said, that would be great.
Okay, so yeah, the way it's changed is because we have to think safety first. We have to make sure that our officers are equipped with the proper protection equipment. They've got masks and they've got sanitizers, and that they're utilizing this before they respond to these type calls.
So how does your unit plan for major city events such as protests, as you mentioned, and other events?
Well, in regards to protests, our city is big on allowing people to exercise their First Amendment rights. We encourage, protests. We encourage peaceful protests. And also we encourage for people to obey traffic laws and not put themselves in any danger. So we do a lot of social media intelligence, try to determine the size of the protest, the number of people that will be in attendance. We try to contact the organizers, find out what their agenda is, find out what their route is, whether or not it's just going to be our standstill rally, or if they're planning to march, find out where they plan to march, and if we can offer an escort, if it's a bigger big enough protest where they're not going to be able to be on the sidewalks and they have to get in the street, then we try to make sure that we move them as safely as possible.
So lastly, obviously technology has changed. How has law enforcement changed because of technology, and what are some of the advantages and disadvantages?
Well, with the technology, it's a good thing. We have to depend more on the unmanned aircraft systems and the helicopter and the cameras. It's the way of the future. And we have the video integration, which allows us to tap into other businesses. This allows us not necessarily just for our cameras, but if there's a business or either homeowners, it gives us an opportunity, with their permission, of course, we can tap in and watch real-time video and live feed to use their cameras as well. So it's here. It's not going anywhere.
Deputy Chief, thank you so much for your service, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.